The stone hadn't lied about what it could do for him. With each raven he cut down, he felt a jolt of power flowing into his arm.
You're weak,
whispered the stone.
The core will kill you.
Are you afraid of it?
No, don't be ridiculous.
It chuckled.
But it's unstable. It will poison you so much as carry it, and if you try to use it, it will explode catastrophically.
Bernardo did not trust rocks that talked in his head. He went onwards. As he approached the core, the stone became hysterical.
No, it's too much power. We'll rip a hole in space and time.
He had a sudden vision of plunging his gauntlet into the core and dying in anguish. That wasn't his vision, was it? The stone had sent him its darkest fears, hadn't it? He had defeated the demonic gem with the power of his mind. He felt invincible. It was time to attack the Imperial outpost on the Nexus. Take the battle to the enemy. But among the huge crystals, there was also an observatory. A wise man would probably ask the scientists exactly what he had first. How wise was he? As the Farfarer made its way toward the Nexus, Bernardo could see tiny sparks in the blackness that was the Iblis stone, as if somewhere within it, the core was... See? He'd trusted his gut, and it had worked out. That's what it meant to be a hero. To ignore the naysayers and the oddmakers, and do what you knew was right, and have it turn out to be the right thing. Well, he wasn't worried. Once he got to the observatory, the scientist toads could explain it. Then he could carry the war into the enemy's camp and destroy them all. Oh dear, he was getting a little bloodthirsty, wasn't he? Every day he was getting better and better. There was an inscription, no spitting. He wished there were more pylons he could use the hook on. It really needed to construct additional pylons. Bernardo had never felt better in his life. Normally, a battle would wear him down and he would need a night's sleep. Now he felt like he could go all night and all day. He felt like people were cheering him on, and he could practically hear their applause as he slew one raven after another. The Imperial fleet was closing in on the rebels, forcing them to come out and fight. Bernardo was itching to bring the fight to the enemy. He had to remind himself not to be too reckless. If he was a weapons engineer, Bernardo would make the cannonballs go much faster. And fire randomly, obviously. In this chest, there were woodcuts of amazingly beautiful vixens wearing no clothes at all, and something more useful. The toads at the observatory measured the stone with their occult devices. I fed it the core of Sky Ripper, explained Renato. No more feed me blood and souls.
But the core is not an unlimited energy source,
said one toad. Another said,
there's a feedback loop, you see, which could overload the stone. The stone doesn't actually feed on souls,
claimed a third.
But on pain of killing another sentient being. If you can truly be at peace with yourself, it would not overload.
This was all very confusing. At peace? Yes, the mountains were peaceful and quiet, but he now had the power to turn the tides. He should report to the Rebellion Council and prepare for the decisive battle. Renato couldn't make sense of anything the toads said, and listening to them argue made him restless. The Iblis Stone had made him a power in his own right. The core had kicked the Iblis Stone out of his head by filling it with more power than it could eat. It was time to meet the leadership of the rebellion. It was time to go to the ruins where they had hidden their secret base. He was ready for anything the ravens could throw at him. His sword felt ready too. It seemed to know what he wanted most. Of all the artisans he was creating employment for, truly, he was a job creator. Thought about Hypatia. Oh, she'd been an amazing rabbit. She could talk to him about comics, and talk to her son about history and battles, and talk to scholars about the ancient tomes hidden deep in the vaults of the Library of Ubar. Oh, Renato really missed her. Iblis Stone wasn't pestering him anymore. Good. He didn't want to chit-chat, not with anybody. He didn't want to think about Zenobia or Lapino. He just wanted to fight. This was almost fun. Pain of killing another sentient being? What was that toad talking about anyway? He felt no pain, only pleasure as each filthy raven fell by his sword and the stone glowed brighter and brighter. And all the while, those voices were cheering him on, like he was in the arena, winning bout after bout. Sorry, mustache, thought Renato. Long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good. For some reason, Bernardo remembered a fairy tale his mother had told him. About a land where only the apes talked. Animals went around without clothes. I wonder what happens if I go that way. He slew and slew across the ruins and into the labyrinth that hid the secret rebel base. He was surprised not to see any defenders or even any of the council toads. When he reached the council chambers, there were still no toads, only filthy ravens. "Stop him! He's gone mad!" one raven shouted until he had hacked them all down. There was not a single toad anywhere. No doubt they'd all been taken prisoner, so it was up to him to take revenge upon the Imperial fleet. But where had they taken the council? It couldn't be good that the Empire had not only found the secret rebel base, but killed or captured everyone there. No matter. He was on a roll. He headed full speed towards the Imperial fleet. He would be the fox who took down 100 warships. He charged. The Imperial fleet was huge and deadly, but he was deadlier. The crowd was cheering him on. He could practically hear it. Renardo, the hero of the rebellion. Had that door been opened before? Look down, he thought. As he slew his way across the fleet, Renardo thought he could hear a small voice whispering in his ear. "Look at your gauntlet, you idiot," it said. "Oh, for heaven's sake," he thought. "Can't I be alone in my own head? Look at the stone." "I'm busy," he told the voice. "Talk later." "Then it will be too late," cried the voice. "Don't be so bloody thick." "Piss off," he told the voice and kept up his slaying. This was much easier than free climbing. Soon he'd confront the Emperor. Funny that this whole war had come about because the Emperor feared death. And now it was coming for him. There was some sort of lesson there, wasn't there? There was the Emperor. Renato cut down his elite guard. The exalted Toad cowered fearfully. He had sought to evade death and only made death come to him faster. Renato savored the moment. And then, too quick, it was over. He stood over the dead Emperor.
Death to tyranny! He shouted. Go, House, go!
Zenobia stepped out of the shadows. You have to stop, she said. You killed everyone. Our ravens, your rebels. You murdered the whole rebel council.
What? Oh, the ravens killed the council. You big idiot. They don't even know what the secret base is. Shouted Lapino, who was with her for some reason.
Look at the stone, said Zenobia. It was black as night. Blacker.
But I fed it the core, said Renato. It was glowing. Well, who needs a core? He said, and he attacked.
Zenobia conjured her best, and Lapino hopped around like a mad rabbit, but he killed them both easily.
I am unstoppable, he orated at the blood-soaked walls. I alone shall be emperor.
The tiny voice inside him screamed,
That doesn't even sound like you, you big fanny. The stone has stolen your mind.
but he ignored it. Who listens to voices in their heads anyway? Madmen, that's who. But he'd learned another true thing. The Iblis Stone was evil. It would try to corrupt anyone who used it. There would be a way to win. Renato could feel it. He'd have to explore choices he'd never made before he could figure it all out, though. And with that, the book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again. And he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game-changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Or so a scholar in the mountains had told him.
Surely the weapon that banished the lost gods could defeat the Emperor.
Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lupino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lupino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens?
Every child knew about the Sky Ripper. The Transcendent Emperor had buried its pieces. What could have brought them to light? This Emperor, Isengrim III, had once been kind, but he'd gone mad. And now he was conducting secret, obscene rituals to bring back the lost gods. Had he, somehow, summoned the long-lost components of the legendary weapon out of the deep places of the earth? It was more than Renato could fathom. But if he could find a legendary weapon, he would use it.
As he set foot on the island, Renato couldn't help feeling a bit curious. Was Lupino still waiting to be rescued? No. He was probably drinking champagne with the ravens. Did ravens drink champagne? Did rabbits? Renato felt oddly thirsty, come to think of it.
Why had he chosen the Sky Ripper? Renato never made plans that required constant vigilance. He was a hero. He didn't think too much. He just went with his gut and hoped it all worked out. The Sky Ripper was a long shot. He'd have to devote himself to it. No side journeys, no rescuing old friends. That was against his nature. Could he stick with it?
I need more materials, thought Renato.
Say goodnight, Gracie, said Renato, wondering who Gracie was.
Renato was running out of choices. Zenobia's love brought him only sorrow. His best friend was his enemy. And the Iblis stone? Ooh, he shuddered. Best not to think about it. All that was left was the Sky Ripper, a weapon powered by a god's eye. So be it, then. The new pathway made Renato curious. That was always a rush. But there were still so many games to play, Renato thought as he died. Everybody knew you shouldn't trust a raven further than you could throw one. But did vertical drop count? Open, says me. These were really nice chests. You should take one home, he thought. See? That wasn't so hard. There it was. Sky Ripper's armature. The stuff that dreams are made of. Engineers' dreams, anyway. The device was intricate. No one alive had the skill to make a thing like it. How was it part of a weapon at all? He'd have to ask a scientist. But first, he'd get the second piece. Sky Ripper had a heart. A core that had come to rest on the next island. Well, there was another island he could reach. Zenobia had just invaded it with her father's Raven battalions. She must be encamped there still. But fighting Zenobia now, that made no sense at all.